Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, for the opportunity to be here. I would like to talk about some aspects of changes which we made in the last 2 years in the National Library of Poland, which are connected with introduction of the National Library of Poland descriptors, and especially in the context of cataloging of literary works. So we have changed our subject description system. The previous one was called National Library of Poland subject headings, and the new one is called National Library of Poland descriptors. I will be using Polish abbreviations for those two. So JHP is the former, DPN is the letter introduced in 2017. The main difference between the two is that National Library of Poland subject headings, so JHP, was pre-coordinated language, which consisted of simple subject headings, so subjects, and extended subject headings consisting of subjects and subdivisions, based on Mark 21 format, X, Y, Z, and V subdivisions. While the new subject description system, Descriptors, DBN, is a post-coordinated language, so it uses no subdivisions at all. Transition from the previous to the current system to descriptors involved separation of extended subject headings, those which consist of subjects and subdivisions, into different descriptors. By the way, these examples are in English. I have translated them for the purpose of this presentation. Unfortunately, they are not in English in real catalog, they are in Polish only until now. There were headings as English literature, reception, Poland, 19th century, for example. And they were separated into different descriptors, subject descriptors, English literature, influence and reception. Oh, I'm sorry, R is missing here, influence and reception. Geographic descriptor, Poland, and I'm not sure if it's seen here. Okay, and chronological descriptor, which expresses 19th century. Based on this former heading, we created also in this case new descriptor called discipline and approach descriptor. I will explain this in a second. Literary studies. Transition involves not only separation of extended subject headings, but also separation of simple ones. So, because some of them were in fact expressing more than one feature, 2 or 3 even. For example, genre heading Polish children's novel, so novel for children. That kind of headings were separated into genre descriptor, novel, audience descriptor, children, and cultural area descriptor, Polish literature. This transition was related to change of the search engine which we used. The previous one was an index search, so a user had to firstly choose appropriate index, and only later he or she had to follow the path which was designed by the cataloger. We have changed it to faceted search, this is our current main library catalog, in which the user just enters a phrase and can further refine it using faceted filters. Taking advantage of that, we have added some new access points, which created new facets, facet filters. These are format type, genre, audience, cultural area, and discipline and approach. I will briefly explain them. So, starting from the last one, discipline and approach is a fixed list of 41 descriptors that describe fields of science, fields of arts, fields of life, so to speak, such as archaeology, biology, chemistry, geography, physics, but also cuisine, travel, tourism, work, career, and so on. These descriptors, however, are not provided for literary works or nor graphic works, music works, and so on. While cultural area descriptor, on the other hand, is used for, especially for, only for those kind of works, literary, iconographic, music, film works. This kind of descriptor contains language ethnic adjectives such as Polish, English, or Czech, which is carefully selected using some criteria such as nationality, ethnicity of the author, area to which he or she belongs, languages he or she used, country where the author worked, made his works, or intended audience. So, for example, I think quite uncontroversial here, Kamil will be representative of Czech literature. Sometimes there are more controversial examples, but we can also give more than one cultural area descriptor, so it's not as difficult as it may seem. An audience is another access point, another new descriptor, which we created using some existing Mark 21 fields, here 385. So audience descriptor is used when the intended audience was indicated expressively by the author or publisher, and there are a few groups of these audience descriptors. It can express just groups of people for whom the publication is intended, like doctors, teachers, I don't know, drivers, and so on. Level of education, both in terms of type of school, like primary school, secondary school, high school, college, and so on, and as a school grade, first grade, second grade, third grade. There is also a possibility to express age group, also in verbal expressions, as children, adults, and in age range, like from 0 to 5 years old, 6, 8 years old. And this is, in this example, fairy tales of Hans Christian Andersen. And they are prepared here for children, and especially for, specifically for children from 0 to 5, from 6 to 8, so generally from 0 to 8, more or less. Format type descriptor is also a fixed list, also as discipline and approach descriptor, I told before. Is a fixed list of 38 descriptors, which can be divided broadly into two groups. First of which we can call form, meaning generally physical characteristics, and it can be further divided into writing and non-writing. So writing like books, articles, audiobooks, journals, and so on, and non-writing films, photographs, graphics, maps, music, and so on. And the second group we can broadly call the type, which is only about writing. So every bibliographic record must be given at least one form descriptor from this list on the left. But if it is given a writing descriptor from this list on the very left, it must be also given a descriptor from the right. So writing generally is kind of privileged here. So if we have a record that is music, it is given just a form descriptor music. But if we have a book, it is given form books and type prose. Concerning genre is, I don't know, okay, here it is. Genre is 655 mark field, so it was already used before, but in a bit different way in JHP. So in the former system, both works that belonged to a specific genre and works that were about this genre, like novels and works about the history of a genre, which is novel, were given 655 field, and in the new system, only in the first case they are given 655 field, while in the second 650 together with some other descriptors. So they are separated already in this level. The separation was well, there was no separation in the level of a search engine, because both subject and genre were given the same subject index in our former catalog, while now they are clearly separated in the presentation because they are in two different facets. Okay, I'm too quick, but you can see it's genre and subject facets based on these two mark fields. We can also say that this form and type descriptors I told you a moment ago, and these genre descriptors kind of are complementary to each other. Prose can be seen as a level 1 description of this what a work is, while level 2 more specific description can be genre in 655 fields here, novel and science fiction. By the way, there was also in some cases separation. As you can see, we tried to do as many separation as we could without losing any data. So here there were some headings which expressed both form and genre, so to speak. So horror film, horror literature were separated into horror genre and films or books as a form to make more access points to enable end user to find it from different points. Because of that, there are some universal genres, so-called, which can be combined with different forms, like horror, thriller, romance, comedy, can be combined with forms like books, comics, films, computer games, and so on. And not all of genres are universal, because some of them are deeply related with some form, like Gothic novel with books or family movie with films. The big change we made at the same time with introduction of the National Library of Poland descriptors was also beginning of making a subject description of literary works. There are many new aspects, which when we assign descriptors in those cases, for example, to mark some historical background, when some historical events are important for the plot of a work, especially in historical fiction, as in a novel of famous Polish writer, Henryk Sienkiewicz, Knights of the Cross, where Battle of Grunwald is important for the plot, or characters, real characters from the history, who play significant role, and you can recognize it from the descriptions. You don't need to read a novel to recognize it. Like for example, in The Three Musketeers by Alexandre Dumas, the King Louis XIV and Cardinal Richelieu, as well as some fictional, biblical, mythological characters or deities, especially when the character is this thing who unites some literary cycles not defined as one cycle by the author. For example, Polish fantasy author Andrzej Sapkowski wrote The Last Wish and Blood of Elves. Both are not members of the same cycle, but are united by the character Witcher, fictional character. There are also some real or fictional families, dynasties, if the plot focuses on the history of a given family, like Baden-Brooks. Here it's fictional family. There can be some intertextual references if the literary work is related somehow to another work, not necessarily literary, but also musical, artistic, as the poet's society, based on a film, the same title. There can be some real or fictional places. Here in fantasy, J.R.R. Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, and Unfinished Tales are both. In this case, the thing that unites them, it's not really, and not in the first place a character, but rather the place, fictional place, which is Middle-earth. There are other things I will not list for the sake of time, all of them, but for example, some social environment, some institutions which are important. As you can see, there are many types of mark field used here. So here it's about institutions, and of course, subjects. So some which express some essential elements of content. If we are talking about Andrzej Sapkowski, here we can say, see wizards, monsters, or warriors. Even poetry can be given subject descriptors, which is not always easy, but sometimes here in this case it's pretty obvious. It's Holocaust poetry, so it's poetry which is deeply related to this subject. Concerning genres and subjects, there is also a discussion if we should give publications which belong to a genre subject specific to that genre. And finally, we decided we should not do this. So romance will not be assigned with love or science fiction with science and so on. I have rather we are trying to give descriptors which make that particular work different from other works of this particular genre. At the last, I would like to show you the tool we made recently. DBN, it's short for the National Library of Descriptors, BN. Oh, sorry. Just for a little moment, sorry for finishing in a second. This is a device just to for descriptors, so if we check Andrzej Sapkowski, and we use suggestion, we mean this one, we can...
Is it an unofficial premiere of it?
Actually,
yes.
well, it is online for some month or two, but probably there wasn't. I mean, no, it wasn't. This has any official premiere, so in a way, yes, you can call it. So as you can see, there are information from the authority record. There are also some information here, and the thing which I personally think is quite interesting is statistic data, which are, for example, which shows most often he or she occurs as unfortunately only in Polish, but author, introduction, translation, so here author. These are years of publications. Publishers, so names of different publishers, which his works are being published, and the persons he's co-author, but maybe most important here is that most related to the subject of my presentation are subjects of publications, which this is about the genre, so fantasy, novel, comics, historical novel, and so on. I'm sorry, finishing in a second. Form, books, articles, prose, and also subjects. For example, monsters, warriors, wizards, magic, themes are within. This is and the Witcher fictional character is also among these mostly used. That's it. We are okay. So generally, these descriptors can be seen. Also here in this page, which I recommend. Unfortunately, only the descriptions are in English. The descriptors itself are for now in Polish only. Okay, thank you very much for.
Okay, thank you, Kamil, very much for your talk, and time for questions. Matthew.
So as a cataloger, I have to ask, how do you do that? Like, is it automated in any way, or do you have 1,000 catalogers, or how do you produce so much metadata?
Well, it's not, unfortunately, it's not really automated. I mean, there is a lot of catalogers, not only from the National Library, but also from other libraries that work together with us. We have with several libraries now, we have common cataloging system. So more and more libraries are joining. And it's not easy to create this metadata, but at least for now, it's only up to human catalogers. So I don't know.
Thank you. I see the hand.
So building up on that, I was just wondering if you're planning to add also some machine learning or like some other methods to understand those relationships between the subjects. So, and more specifically, I was wondering, because we did a similar project in my library in Mexico, And the thing is, what we found is that we had the same subject, but with different words. So for instance, China as a place was like Republic of China and many other variants. So I was just wondering if you're also looking into that to just not only separate the subject headings, but also curate them and see if there are any duplicates and so on with machine learning. So the other side, not how are you doing with humans, but if you're planning to also, or open your data and look into researchers so we can,
By the way, it's open data. It's open data.
It's public domain.
Also catalog data, you can download all the catalog data.
Authority files, you can download it now.
No, but from this separated data, the faceted search we just saw.
Well, if you the data you can download from data VN or GPL also.
Yeah. We're doing it every day. Yes, it's amazing. It's actually amazing.
Oh, sorry.
It's actually amazing.
That's what we're doing, but the APIs that they have and openness.
Yes, so here in Polish only, unfortunately, but you can download just a moment, all the database of authorities, for example, here. As well as you can do some search here, for example, authority records giving the conditions you'd like to use. These are different different categories based on mark fields, obviously. So in some formats like JSON, XML, mark, XML, or mark. So this can be used. Generally, if you use descriptor of the same subject expressed with different words, you mean with if you compare them with other institutions, other catalogs, or within the same catalog.
Within your same catalog, but yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure if it's the problem. I mean, combining with different institutions, I understand, but within our catalog, okay, maybe I'm not sure if I understood well the example, because you said China.
You have it as a rejected because you have a preferable label.
Yes.
And you have the other, let's say, rejected, which are not incorrect, but.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we don't have, I mean, it's already done. I mean, it's already done because we have, I can show you here. We use it as rejected, so-called, which are written in mark 400 something fields. So here you can see different, the same hundreds of post-its expressed in different ways. Maybe something, not a personal name, but I don't know.
The history of cataloging is that if there was a term, it's not being just deleted, it's being saved as it's rejected one. It's a knowledge base that is built over the years. So then you don't have to apply the automated method then, because for years it has been growing the multiplicative file each and every day, right? Catalogers see, and there is another name for China, let's say. In this case,
China right there.
Yes, so it has been already much effort during many years to make this catalog so that there are no duplicates. There are no such things as for example, China, Republic, and so on. I hope it answers the question.
Yeah, thank you. And but are you planning to do any machine learning on your data as well?
Well, I'm not sure about the main catalog, but last time we are working on some application, mobile application, which combines data from the libraries and data from other, especially from blogs, and to give user data combined. And to do this, we take texts from blogs and we make machine learning system which assigns descriptors automatically. So I hope that someday we can use it also for the catalog, for the library. For now, it's just kind of experiment. It's not ready yet. I cannot show it now, but maybe next time. But it uses machine learning. It uses kind of automation of descriptors to the text.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. I think that I have seen.
And how do your legacy data look like? You mentioned that in 2016 you switched from subject headings to descriptors.
In 2017, yeah.
Or 17, okay. But how about your pre-2016 data? Have they been changed so that they reflect the descriptors, or?
Well, yes, they have been changed. It took a lot of time. For now, in theory, 100%. In practice, I'm not sure if 100% still, because it really was, the transition was not so simple as, because not to lose some data, not to lose some information which was inherent in these combinations of subjects and subdivisions, it was most of the time impossible to do it fully automatically. It involved work of much human work. So now it's, if not all, almost all are converted from the older system into descriptors.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for your question. Basically, there is nearly the same question in the chat by Piotr Čistik, so maybe I will ask Piotr if we would like to ask for something in more detail and pose the question in chat and Kamil to answer it maybe also then in chat, because we are going slightly out of time. And if there is no...
Yeah, I have an impression that my question was answered. I was asking about precisely about the transition, of the old records into the new system, but so yeah, so we can consider it answered. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Piotr, and thank you, Kamil, once again.
Thank you.